discover liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2024. It is the January 17th, sorry, 2024. It's the third week of comics in this year, 2024. We've got 2 books to go through and a whole bunch of other stuff, bunch of news. So it's going to be a bit of a chunky episode. Hopefully we'll get through it in the hour. But, you know, it's stuff to talk about, I'm Matthew. He's Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I am, as I said earlier, all Star Wars out. I spent over 3 hours reading a Star Wars book this morning, finishing it, by the way. Defy the Storm out on March 1st, I believe. And then we also had 3 comic books today. So I am like, after today, I feel a little exhausted with all the reading I've been doing, but it's been good reading nonetheless. I'm excited to get into it today.
Well, you got 3 comics. I only had 2. So next week, yeah, we'll get. There's an adaptation coming out next week. We'll get to that at the end. Let's get some quick plugs out of the way, as we usually do at the Ion Cannon Tractor Beam comics on the Tractor Beam on the Star Wars Underworld podcast network. I forgot to mention that. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. And Monday night, check us out at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Chris, quickly, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Star Raptor on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Star Raptor, and I have a Substack, starraptor.substack.com, for my writings. I just put up my glowing review for the Echo series on Disney Plus. So that was my first review written. So check it out.
Yeah. So it's a well-written review for a fantastic show. So definitely go check that out. Yeah, let's dive right in here. High Republic, we'll do that first. High Republic number 3, written by.
All right.
So we're going to get the big one in the middle. We're going to start with this one first. High Republic number 3, written by Kevin Scott, art by Jim Toa and Marca Cresta, colors by Jim Campbell, and cover by the one and only Phil Noto. The taking of the Ataraxia. Lourna D's treachery has been revealed. But can she escape as the Republic Defense Coalition combines forces with an unlikely ally? Jedi Master Keeve Trennis must board a ship she thought was lost, but is anyone prepared for the extent of Lourna's ruthlessness? Innocent lives hang in the balance as Keeve makes a monumental decision. This one picks up right where we left off with Keeve and Sarah and Tarek and them hunting down the Lourna D, as Lourna always calls any ship she is in command of. But Keeve keeps showing her mastery, really almost easily infiltrating the ship, coming in, taking charge, her mastery of the Force, her mastery of just hand-to-hand combat tactics, but also where she comes from, her roots with Skier. Really appreciate that Skier continues to have an impact, especially through Keeve and everything Keeve has learned and developed over time, including this really interesting setup, this really wonderful setup for what we'll hopefully get into next issue with when Keeve was Skier's Padawan, and going all the way back to when he was a master, remembering her time as a Padawan. There's this raging fire, and Skier goes in and saves this animal, this creature, and the reminder that no one gets left behind. It's really wonderful image, really wonderful picture of the state of the galaxy at this time. And we know we have the occlusion zone and the Nile and their raging fires across the outer rim, and here is Skier rather. We already had Avar being caught behind there, and other Jedi, Porter Engel being caught behind there. Now we're going to get to Skier being trapped, possibly, and Keeve still having this connection. So she has to go and take back the Ataraxia with a path drive. That's also key.
Yeah.
And just really, that, and then this what they discover on the path drive on the Ataraxia, the Lourna D. Lourna was trafficking people or sentient beings and keeping them in these crates. And
Yeah.
who knows what she was up to there? The Hutts, who knows how involved they were? That uneasy alliance that we know how that's going to go between the Republic and the Hutts. Really, yeah. I mean, also just interesting again. Hutts and Jedi Republic allied against Lourna D. That seems to be a recurring thing in this comic. Again, the uneasy, tense alliance with Administrator Jaren and Administrator Scarabda, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
All that. So I really enjoyed this one. Thought it was an exciting, gripping, action-packed story that really drove, continued to drive Keeve character to the point again. Lourna saying, I know all about you. I know kind of where you're heading because we know where she's heading. I'm always curious to see what kinds of things are seeded. I know we got to read a comic on its own merits, but also when Kevin Scott has this character's end in mind, we always have to pay attention to, she's defying orders because she's been ordered back to Coruscant. Instead, she goes into the occlusion zone with Tarek and Sarah. And they're going to go rescue Skier, and again against the Jedi orders. That's going to be interesting too, going into the occlusion zone. So those are my thoughts on High Republic number 3. Chris, what did you think?
Yeah, Matthew, my thoughts similar to yours. I like the action-packed nature of this issue. Getting to see all the action, especially the space battles, some beautiful displays of artwork there, some double page spreads there of the Ataraxia in the Hutts, and we're like, yeah, don't try to destroy her. We want this ship alive in one piece, and the idea of Keeve just getting into that ship and just wrecking all these droids. I found it interesting that Lourna D didn't really have any sentient beings. It was just her on there. So that was kind of neat. The idea of her just going against the Jedi Order, like you said, getting into. I find it interesting about the Ataraxia being a Jedi vessel. I'm kind of trying to do the math in my head how long she had that, because the fact of it getting outfitted with a path engine, which is a big deal in Phase 3, without giving anything away. Like, everybody wants to get a path engine. That's how you get around.
We know from Eye of Darkness already, right?
Yeah, everybody, they're very hard to come by. Lots of plot lines and other future things surrounding path engines and path drives. So very interesting stuff there with the Hutts. Again, allies of the Hutts. I'd love to see Scarabda. I think she survived because it showed that Ataraxia was shooting, and then they get out of there. But
it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard. I think they would have made it clear if they died. But we've seen from Phase 1 how the Hutt uneasy alliance with Maragda the Hutt, I believe was the name, with the Rancors and all that cool stuff, going against the Drengir. And I really miss the Drengir, by the way. I would like to see them come back somehow. I think they died on the Starlight Beacon because the last was the progenitor, I think, was housed there in a cell. I would assume it would be dead by now.
I thought Keeve went to the planet and took it out, or I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. I feel like I feel like the authors have that card. But anyway, as far as this issue is concerned, wasn't incredibly deep, but it just moved the story along. And it's a comic book, and it did what comic books do best, which is to showcase awesome art, really great action. You got Keeve in a lightsaber duel with whatever kyber-resistant blade that Lourna D is using. So I like that a lot. And it's just nice seeing the different Jedi. Again, I love seeing Commander Velko Jahen as a character floating from an insider short story series and becoming a major character in this comic book. It just shows you the power of the initiative here. And this is just one piece of the puzzle. We have High Republic Adventures. We have the Eye of the Storm. We have the insider stories. We have the upcoming middle grade, the upcoming YA. All these are doing their own little world building for this exact moment of time. And so now that I've seen most of it in this first wave, at least, I think they've all done a really good job of telling the stories. These authors are telling the stories they want to tell,
Mhm.
and they all feel fresh. They all feel unique. These characters have all been away from us for 1 to 2 years, and a lot of them have matured, whether it be rank, such as Keeve, whether it be just maturation of like a tween going into like a teenager phase in some of these upcoming books. I think they've done a great job at really showing the passage of time and getting into these more character stories, not just plot and development of, oh, we got to go to point A to point B. Like, these characters are being developed in front of us, and Keeve is that main character here. So yeah, I'm very curious to see. We got, like 7 issues left of this series. I believe it's stopping at issue 10. So there's a lot of room to tell, but I'm very curious because here we go. It's another Jedi that is stuck in the occlusion zone. You got Porter Engle there. You got some other characters that escaped.
Yeah, like Abra's
but
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess it's been long enough. You could say Avar's been out at this
Yeah.
point. People would have read it by
I've
now.
read Eye of Darkness.
If you've read it by now,
and
then
everyone
the
else
world knows. So it's really cool because like now that occlusion zone is going to be fleshed out even more so. We've seen a little bit of it in the Shadows of Starlight issue number 2 with the one with Avar and Selen, and Avar's stuck there, and different things going on in there. But yeah, from the books I've read, without giving anything away, man, the occlusion zone is really bad place to be, and I'm looking forward to seeing that from a comic book perspective on the page in the future now.
Yeah, it's interesting just thinking about the focal point of all these High Republic stories. First it was the dedication, the building and dedication of Starlight, and then it was the Valo Fair and everything that happens there, and then it was the fall of Starlight, and and connected with that, all the adventures on Corellia, and of course phase 2 was the Battle of Jeddah, and then 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 it was the Battle of Lourna. And it was with the beginning of phase 3. It's the Stormwall and this much bigger galactic situation that's involved. It's the Stormwall that, again, spoiler for Eye of Darkness, Marky and Rowe can move it at will, as far as we can tell, and and can basically wreak havoc. It's his way of wreaking havoc. And so the quest to get through, and who's on the other side, and how are they surviving? How are they trying to find ways even to thrive potentially, or restore what Nihil have taken? Just on Monday we talked all about Gira Staros, a little bit about Gira Staros, and what she's trying to build there. It's a much bigger situation, and so it's a bigger situation that's still very clear and focused, and so they can make all these really great stories around it, and yet it all feels connected. It all feels they have the same set of concerns. And this one, it's this High Republic 3, this one, it joins the fray in that. We'll see next week if High Republic Adventures joins that as well, and it does it, but it joins the fray again by who is going to actually try and get through the occlusion, or through the Stormwall into the occlusion zone. Why? Keeve is going to try, because Keeve is being heroic and wants to go and save her friend, her former master. Also to point out Lourna D. I mean, if this builds off of her audio play, that Cavan Scott's audio play, that was really well done. Really, there's a reference. Keeve refers to the events in that play, but also her, she's kind of on her own here now, and she was on her own before. She was with the Hutts, but now she's shooting down Scarabda. maybe not shooting her down, but shooting at her. Really trying to build her own kind of corner of something. And I've always she's a villain, but I've always admired her tenacity, her independence. I mean, again, that audio play really builds up a sense of empathy and understanding for her. And so to take that into this issue and say, I'm going to be my own woman. Everyone's telling me who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do and be under my thumb. First it was Marky, and now it's first it was her family, and then Asgar, and then Marky, and then than this alliance with these Hutts. But whatever she is, this horrible thing she's up to with these people in these crates, I'm not saying that's excusable. I'm just saying there's just something more to her that I want to keep following. And even if this comic goes into the occlusion zone, and I don't think, she's taken prisoner by Keeve, so she's there. She's in the.
She's going to be the guide.
Yeah, and the guy, this reluctant guide, is going to be all, I don't, not going to cooperate, uncooperative guide, but we're going to see more of the nuance and complexity of her motivations, and this issue already started in on that, and so again, what Keeve was referring to. So Kevin Scott again carrying all these characters through in a really to maturity. I mean, High Republic is definitely this wine that's matured quite well and aged.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, are you talking about like mature as like, oh, it's gotten better as a whole? Or are you talking about the characters themselves are like maturing?
I mean, one expresses the other, right?
Yeah.
So
because that's my big highlight of reading all this Wave 1 stuff is, man, even the middle grade novel, Escape from Violet, feels like a YA novel now. Because I feel like they acknowledge that the audience is now 3 years older than they were when they started, so they can kind of move the whole initiative. A 10-year-old might have started, now they're 13 or 14 now reading these books. Okay, they can age them up a little bit. They don't have to worry about it because now we're well into this whole thing. So just from that perspective, I like it a lot. But yeah, Lourna D as a character is really fascinating. I mean, we keep talking about Keeve Trennis, but it seems like Lourna D is going to be like the other major character of this whole line, possibly because she's not dead. She's not in jail. She's going to be along with the story. It's just going to be, we're going to see if there's any redemption for her by the end of this, or maybe she saves Keeve out of some trouble and they build more of a strong bond. I feel like that's going to have to happen at one point. She's going to eventually learn better way of being I was going to say a human. She's a Twi'lek, but like
better way of being Twi'lek.
better ethics, better morals somehow. But yeah, I am curious about what the issue was with the human trafficking. It's kind of dark. Like what these poor people doing, and they're jettisoned into space. Like, oh my gosh,
they're not. Their crates they're safe. They're fine. But yeah, it's scary. At the same time, I mean, redemption for Lourna. Again, what does Keeve leaving the Jedi look like? Again, it's still also potentially a form of redemptive independence, if you will. And I'm convinced it's not like a Dooku. I want to go and take. Not like Dooku from before, like Dooku from Kevin Scott's audio play. Maybe Dooku from Light of the Jedi, or Tales of the Jedi, rather. I want to, the like more like Ahsoka, more like, the Order as it is holding me back from serving the light. I hope it's something more like that. It's just that when a master does it, it's a bigger deal. So.
Oh, I just realized that Arya Anadito is not drawing the comic anymore. What's going on with that? I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was like the right-hand man of Kevan Scott.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's interesting. I mean, did he write the first? I think he at least drew the first issue.
Yeah, maybe. Let's
and he did all of phase 2, I think.
Yeah, he did phases 1 and 2. I mean, I right from here at Jim Tomer Cresta. It could be one off, could be who knows what. One thing I did open up to, if we forgot to do panel of the week. I'll do panel.
Oh yeah, I already know what you're gonna show because that's gonna be mine. Yep. Is it? Wait. I don't know. Yeah, that's the one. Oh man, that could be a poster. That thing is
cinematic,
nice.
Right? Like
so cinematic. Oh my!
I mean, not just this one. There's others too. Just
there are others, like the one where Keeve has entered the ship and she's like standing in the doorway.
Yeah.
Just ready to take on Lourna D. Like this one right here. I like this one.
Yeah, there. There's a.
There we go. There it is.
You got the digital code there. There we go. Another thing. So yeah, really well done. Again, I think there's more to be said about this comic. And hopefully, yeah, we can keep going.
Oh, we got Matt Moore in the chat. I believe that is maybe the Matthew Moore from the Splash page. Check those guys out.
For sure.
They're one of the inspirations for us doing this, at least for me. Those guys are great. Him and Jeff McGee breaking down weekly comics. Check them out.
As I say, you guys do the forces work, so keep it up. And thanks for checking us out. Yeah, I mean, there were more we could say, but we have a doozy to get into. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Number 3 or.
That's it for this one. I have a lot to say about this next one, though.
All right, let's do it. Bounty Hunters, number 42 of 42. Woo! Here. Written by Ethan Sachs, art by Jethro Morales, who did the main story. Paolo Villanelli, of course, did the coda, as he mentioned, New York Comic Con. I think that we heard that. Colors by Arif Prianto and cover by Jose Maria Casanovas. The explosive end of the saga. Valance, the bounty hunter, has one final mission to complete, and it may indeed be his last. Can he and the crew fight their way past Boba Fett and Jabba's secret weapon? The grand finale of the series that's 4 years in the making.
Wow.
Chris, I'll let you launch right in. Bounty Hunters finale. Go for it.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say duped by the cover, but for the longest time when I first seen his cover, I thought this character was actually Dirge from a distance. I was like, oh yeah, that's Dirge fighting.
Dirge is in it.
Yeah.
He has a moment in it.
Yeah, looking closely, I think it was Dan Grievous on Twitter was saying, oh, it's a Separatist because he's obsessed with Separatists. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is the Megadroid, isn't it, from the Yoda series? But what I will say, just to sum this all up, is this is how you do a finale. This is how you wrap up 4 years, 42 comics worth of stories by building in suspense, by building in things that have happened. There's lots of editorial notes. So thanks, Mark Panizia, for actually, really doing the forces work with that as well, and be like, oh, number 16 or whatever this number is. So it's like, yes, there's so much history that's built into this book from the very first comic. Even what is there, the bounty hunter that he was working for? Oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought.
And the kind of
the kind of lash. There we go. The kind of lash, going all the way back then, going to the stuff with the Conja Club guy,
Leech from
Tasu Leech. Like it's just and dealing with Jabba, dealing with Boba Fett. You're getting like all the high end kind of glossed over view of everything that Violent Valance has come into contact with. And it's very interesting with the coda, with Tonga, the way they do the perspective. It's actually been her story all along. Like, we think that Violent Valance is the main character, at least I like to think that sometimes, but when it comes down to it, he was out of the story for a good part of it, right? And then it was like, okay, this is Tonga's time to shine. So I love how we get that coda and just wrapping up everything nicely, to the point where there could be more stories. And, spoiler alert, like, Violent Valance lives, hashtag
Valance
lives. Yep. He did not get killed. No matter how many times that Ethan Sachs went out on social media and was teasing everybody in Balance Nation about, oh yeah,
it was an arm.
Last issue,
he
lost an arm. He's there holding the arm. But my gosh, it was a great finale. It really added a lot of closure. Some really great artwork in here that just. Such great stuff. Even bringing back Cordelia. Remember, for like years, I've been wondering what this character's point was. And here she's going to be starting up financing this new bounty guild with Lasha and Tonga and all these other people that will eventually be like, I would love to get a reference to that in like one of these series, like besides Navarro being a bounty guild. You go to whatever the planet, and I don't have it off the top of my head. I forgot to write down the planet's name. But I'm going to be looking for that in the future. It'll be like, oh, yeah, this bounty guild with Lasha and Tasha, or Tonga, all that good stuff. But anyway, I'll let you go on.
And they mentioned Navarro. I think they have to go and actually touch on Navarro. That would be fantastic. That would be a nice little nod to us. I know the paper screen bridge connection is complicated, but this was this.
Oh, did we lose you? I think.
Oh, we're good. I'll be back 1 second.
Are we good? Okay, so I'm gonna just take this over as I'm used to doing solo anyway for my YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, I love the stuff with Jabba the Hutt. Are you back now?
Back. I hope I'm back.
You are back.
Technology.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just saying, I love the stuff with Jabba the Hutt, and then he came back.
yeah, there you go. Because I'm Jabba. Speaking. Side note: Iman Asfandi coming to Toronto Comic Con. That's another thing. Anyway, yeah, this is precisely like you're saying the way to do a finale. When I was reading it, is that this is taking in everything that was truly great about this Bounty Hunter comic. Yeah, the incredible action, by Jethro Morales and Paulo Villanelle. Well, especially, I mean, Jethro Morales channeling Paulo Villanelle's ability to draw action, and exciting movement and action. The even the kind of calculation that Boba Fett has to make here. You help Byler by taking out, helping take out or setting up the situation so he can take out the super droid thing, or a bunch of his rivals get taken out. Yeah, you showing Tonga, and highlighting her coming in really to save the day. Lasha coming in to save the day by at least weakening the droid, and yeah, just the way it brings in all these characters and the theme of connection. And that's the thing of this coda, is even in this underworld where we saw Tonga's crew all bail on her. If not Skier, Bosk, wrong wrong train notion. Bosk saying, I may have made a mistake. Just coming together and saying, even in this underworld with these shifting loyalties, it's still relationships that form the foundation of trust for a crew to be able to go out and do this kind of nefarious bounty hunting work, but also because that's the space they have for them. If we had Tonga and Lasha being concerned, both the Empire or the New Republic aren't going to be as capable of, or they're going to limit the space and limit the breathing room for these groups to do their work and to kind of police the rough edges of the galaxy, because the Empire is going to try and do that, and the Republic is going to try and do that. Here you have Tonga and Lasha riding off into the sunset, almost quite literally, right? There's that shot of them riding off, and with Cordelia showing up, and Cordelia insists that Tonga and Lasha mentor her. That's it's interesting. It does give Byler more character moments. He's the focus with the duel, with going to Jabba,
sure,
and, that. Yeah, I mean, Tonga coming in to save the day reminded me that she is the main character of this comic. I mean, they both are together. And it was Ethan Sachs has done a wonderful job, a difficult job of managing overall. And we'll get into overall look back on the comic in a minute, but in this issue, just giving weight to both characters and giving important story beats to both characters, and in a way that brings out their heroism. And that's, again, the other thing is heroism among bounty, honor among thieves.
Oh,
Star Wars
man,
is done, including a character that does show up a little bit, sort of, as Han Solo in this, right? Chewie is already there, and we're going to get into the beeline and the what's in the tank to Return of the Jedi. Chewie's in Jabba's palace at this point. He's there. The plan is in motion. Byler has a part in this plan. Byler is.
Wait. All right, finish your thought, because I have to get in. That's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
Is what is the whole point of this mission? Because I understand that they're after the droid because it'll less competition for Boba Fett, but what's in it for them?
I mean,
but you can finish your thought before we.
So Boba Fett is there less competition for Boba.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely.
Like, why couldn't Byler just go and just free Han right there? Like, he defeated, or actually no, Boba did subdue him though. But
yeah,
because Boba set them up to like be defeated by him. Like, that's the one gripe I have with the finale. It's like, it's not clear what was it in for. What did Byler Valance get out of this? He was just doing like Boba Fett's dirty work, taking out the droid.
I think he was also doing Chewie, Luke, Leia, Lando's dirty work. in taking out that droid because
Okay.
remember Bylert, he has a deep sense of debt to Han as well.
Yeah.
And so Bylert is going, he needs to get this droid out of the way, or the plan we see in Return of the Jedi. It's definitely, it's already sketchy, right? Even in the film, they're a prod off the diving board into the Sarlacc. Imagine with this massive honking droid there, wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. They're basically just retroactively being like, oh yeah, if Bylert didn't go in and take out the droid, Luke would have never had a chance.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing with all these comic stories, paper stories, right? Saying let's carve out these stories within the story, and everything with Bylert and these new characters like Bylert and Tonga and it's funny. Ethan Sachs at the very end, that letter he writes at the end, saying you have these characters on all these other bounty hunters, right? Farrell and Zuckus and not Skier, Bosk, on his bed sheets, and I think a lot of kids had those bed sheets. A lot of grown-ups have those bed sheets too, by the way. Gave those characters more of a story, building on what Charles Soule also built up too in War of the Bounty Hunters. But giving Bylert, who of course comes from the Legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Original story, giving him more of a story to do here. Tonga and Lasha again, in 2020 to 2024, have this couple, and taking leadership, and leadership through connection, leadership through building trust that does end up falling apart. That's what's happening here. Is these authors do have to carve out these stories, and so as long as it's appealing and enjoyable, what they do is they do then connect it with the wider story, with there's the calm call to Luke and Leia on the Falcon.
But you said something about Chewie was already there. What did you mean by that?
He's in the comic. He's there. I'll show you.
Well, he's in a cockpit, but he's not in Jabba's palace. Wait, he is?
Am I missing something?
That's a whippet. That's not a Wookiee. Are you talking about when Bylert punched like 3 guys in a row? Because that was one of my pops.
Oh, never mind. Chewie's here. You're right. Chewie's there. Okay. He at the very least fine. That was a little confusing, I bet. But I thought Chewie was there. Anyways, he does say, I hope your plan Chewie works. Maybe, I'm gonna save my own skin
I hope
here.
your plan works out or something.
I'm gonna save my own skin here. Having that other creature there,
the
whippet gets us thinking about Chewie. It gets us thinking about the wider plan that does pay off. See, that's how my brain worked. That's what happened.
Oh my gosh. So, dude, I just, and this is one of my positives, the fact that Ethan Sachs put a whippet in the comic book, because over on the Outer Rim Transmission, my own podcast on Star Raptor YouTube, like that was my Star Wars thing this week was whippets in general as a species. And I don't mean to go off on too much of a tangent here, but I'm listening. I'm getting my credit, which is the 15 hours of Spotify premium listening with audiobooks. And I started listening to, what is it? The Star Wars Crimson. I don't know. It's the precursor to the zombies ones. That's Troopers. Red Harvest. Anyway, there's a whippet bounty hunter, and they're very ferocious enemies of anybody, right? Like these guys are just the worst of the worst. And so, we have a whippet in this comic book. As I was talking about this like literally days ago, I'm like, yes.
So that is cool. Again, I understand why my brain went there. Yes, Chewie's in the Falcon, fine, but really interesting, subtle storytelling then by Ethan, right? To say, okay, this is Chewie, so this is a whippet, and then he mentions, "Hope the plan works." Is he looks over and he sees Han and Carbonite, right? He's there, so I'm okay with my own It's only a half mistake. So
To your credit, when he's headbutting him at the bottom of this panel,
he looks like Chewie
he
too.
does
If
look
you don't
like
look
a
close, so anyway, yeah, really, really wonderful comic. Again, the Coda, all these characters, all the the narration by Tonga about connection, about imagining a new future for her
yeah,
partner and for for Cordelia, bringing in all the other cameos you mentioned in the chat. You mentioned Yura and the Lieutenant Caden, I think.
okay, yep.
That I mean the people I think we thought they were dead, or we thought they were in trouble or on the run.
Yeah, we thought Yura and them were dead because there was a orbital strike by Star Destroyers and Cordelia got away. And that was my other question to you is, obviously Yura was a huge love interest and had a relationship with Violet. So wait a second, why isn't he not going back after her? Maybe I missed something, but I guess he just realized that she was not really into him anymore, and she had a new guy, and he just kind of gave up on that whole thing.
Or he doesn't know she's alive, and that's going to be a future complication, or not. I mean, but I think the point in this story, I mean, that we see at the very end with Gialla, right?
Yeah,
is he's starting to remember her, and that's more recent, and that's more so therefore more important to his story. Her effort to save him and to restore his memory, her sacrifice. But I mean, I think the human brain is more complicated than a machine, and so I mean, he's kind of half. It's just weird. He's a cyborg, right? So I think he is going to start to remember more about her and more about what they started to have together, even though the Empire took it away. And Scourge also took it away. And so it's really set this up. And then at the very end, how do they word it? Their final mission for now, and and then the ad to for Django Fett, which is gonna be cool too. But all in all, I mean, that's the thing is I keep saying about this comic is I say I'm sad to say go this year. When I mean that I'm satisfied, when I'm happy that it's ending, I don't mean I don't want more stories like this. I mean, you come to a story can come to a natural ending point.
Yeah, we don't see that a lot.
We don't, and that's a well-crafted, well-structured, well-planned story. When it comes to an ending point, you want to see the ending point. I mean, that's George Lucas did that, I'd say, with both trilogies, right? Lots. I mean, Charles Soule in 2017 did that with his Vader comic. And Kieran Gillen with his as well. And I think Alyssa Wong with their Afro comic is also doing that. That's coming to an end too. That's going to be sad also. But Ethan Sachs, man, really carrying it home, bringing it home in a way that, again, like you said, it's rare. It's hard to plan out. It's hard to be consistent. It's hard to, including with these two characters. And so I'm transitioning to saying, the Bounty Hunters run overall. I mentioned this.
Can I say something real quick about just the issue before getting overall thoughts?
Yeah.
I just have a couple little funny things to say about the issue before we do overall thoughts.
Yeah.
Prequelist fan. I know you're a prequelist. There's a lot of prequel kind of stuff in this.
Mos Espa.
Whether it be a Gungan shield to Mos Espa pod racing circuit. That was awesome. The fact that they're using this material, this stuff in the comic books is amazing. And another big connection, we got resolution on the Han and Chewbacca maxi series, 10-issue series about why Jabba had even tasked him with getting a droid core. It all makes sense, everybody. It all makes sense now. He wanted that droid core to power up the Mega Droid, which was the last one that survived from the Yoda series. The amount of connectivity in this finale as its own right is just gosh, the way that things lined up,
Mhm.
the way they did was amazing. The idea that it connected the Dark Droids, they didn't get Ajax Sigma's core, but they got Gearty, the ship
Yeah,
AI that was
was gonna
trained to
mention.
have combat from Ajax Sigma. So this thing was able to adapt somewhat like Ajax Sigma, and this thing almost killed him if it wasn't for his reinforcements. So, like, this was a cool way of threading in all
Mhm.
these stories right at the end. So I got to give him credit for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, picking up these plot threads, like I was saying with High Republic, right? That Dark Droids, to its credit, uh, had a big enough story that was also connected that we can take these threads and we can feel like this Bounty Hunters finale that is after Dark Droids, that's also connected. Um, so we can we you can go back into go look at our episodes about how Dark Droids ends, but this one, the Bounty Hunters, ends fantastic. And yeah, like you were saying, just Mos Espa. Well, as we know from Book of Boba Fett, Mos Espa is kind of like the capital city of Tatooine at this point.
Yeah.
And so but so that's like even a nod a little bit implicitly to Book of Boba Fett. It's of course to Phantom Menace and and that, right? So yeah, I was happy. Rick was happy. Yeah, how often do we have comics? Well, I guess D Squad and Dark Droids had those kind of editor comments referring to other comic books, right? That's Star Wars for
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah,
Here
yeah.
it was really effective and really like, okay, go back. I'm wondering again, the question I always have is folks who haven't read those comics, did that resonate as much? Did that matter? But for us, again, this is the thing about an interconnected canon. It hits
Mhm.
in a wonderful way. So yeah, yeah, Bandeiras number 42 finale. Again, just to talk about the run as a whole.
Yeah.
I gotta confess this again. I keep confessing this. Issue 5 or 6 or 7. This is before I was a pure completist. I hadn't kind of given over to that. It's like this Underworld story. I don't know. I mean, I don't really. Underworld isn't really my thing. I get why other people love it. I get why you love it. I made you hate. Well, it's not always the thing I gravitate towards, unless it's in the prequels, and it's I'm prequels. But here, they Ethan Sachs really won me over with, especially with Tonga. I mean, Tonga and Lasha and her crew, I mean, the Hedgehog crew. And again, showing that leadership in relational leadership in the underworld, and the the allegiance that Byler has to Han, and then everything Byler goes through with his cyborg implants that the Empire puts him through, and becoming a tool of the Empire, and how he's able to break out of that with Giela's help, and then of course everything with the Scourge. And in through all that, Tonga is able to maintain her own integrity and her own confidence, even as everything around her changes, and she's able to, emerge. I mean, I think they both came from Nakano Lash and that family, and Tonga's brother dying, and I think I mentioned this in a previous when we talked about a previous comic, right? Um, Nakano dies and Tonga dies, and all these or her brother dies and Tongor. All these other characters around her, she's lost. She doesn't give up on Byler. She definitely doesn't give up on Lasha. Lasha learns how to actually defend herself from Vakora of all people, or kind of in the face of Vakora, if you will. Yeah, that's the thing, is a good character story can connect anyone, connect any kind of reader. Obviously, genre has a part to play in it, but a good character story in Star Wars, I'm going to go for 10 times out of 10. And so, Ethan Sachs really, wherever it's set, really won me over. And then, I mean, he's going to the prequel trilogy. He's going to Django. So here we go.
Yeah.
Let's let her rip in March. Yeah, again, we can't say this enough. To bring a story to such a conclusion over 4 years, over 42 issues, 3.5, 4 crossover events where these characters have a big part to play. And Charles Soule having the sandbox and trusting Ethan to have such a big part in that, because I mean he knows what he's doing too, very clearly. He's a great storyteller in his own right, as what I'm getting at here. Yeah, it's gonna hold up as one of the greats.
It's gonna hold up.
Yeah, of all-time comics. You know, again, it isn't Anakin Vader, so again, you know, the backdrop here. But for those who do love the Underworld and the way they've developed these original characters and brought together these characters, yeah, it's one of the greats. So that's my take on on Bounty Hunters. Chris, do you have more to say about the run as a whole?
Yeah. So unlike Matthew, I'm a huge fan of all this exact kind of content with the Underworld and bounty hunters, and yeah, look at that. Look at
this is Tom's, by the way.
But yeah, the sad part is I know exactly where I was when this damn miniseries was first announced, and yes, that's right, it was announced as a miniseries. I was at work at the time, and I was like, "Oh crap, I got to check out StarWars.com." And they were like, "Oh, Boba Fett's gonna be in this." I was like, "Oh, Dengar, everybody I love is gonna be in this darn comic book. I can't wait." And then they just kept expanding it, going further, going more issues, and the artwork just took me back. I absolutely loved. It's got the best kinetic action. Paolo Villanelli and the rest of the artists that have worked on this thing have absolutely killed it. This is the kind of comic book that you would think of when it comes to a Star Wars action comic book. It's just a lot of bounty hunters like blasting, cybernetic arms going flying, and just the writing again, as you were saying, Ethan Sachs is just, I love this comic because it feels like the High Republic to me, in that none of these characters are really safe. A lot of these characters, they're just such minor characters or brand new characters. The entire cast, there's no Luke Skywalker, there's no Darth Vader, there's no places these characters have to necessarily be besides Boba Fett. So I like getting into a comic book that's familiar, but you don't know the fates of these characters, and that's why I was anticipating the finale so much, is because of the this is Balance Town, they go, Balance going, Valance is gonna go. It's Ethan Sachs is preparing us. Oh no, what's gonna happen here? And I think better than almost any other writer out in current Star Wars comics, Alyssa Wong is up there. But he has really driven the sentimentality of these moments and the things of like Valance forgetting his memories, of forgetting his love, and like all these really melodramatic, like these really dramatic moments that worked for characters that haven't even appeared on the screen.
Right.
You know, so that's the power of his writing, is introducing many characters. I mean, look what he's done with Zuckuss and 4LN.
Yeah, I was going to say those two.
Like these two characters,
10 seconds of sentimentality.
Thing. And in this last issue, I wanted to highlight the awesome action sequence when I think it's Zuckuss or one of the two is on the speeder bike and just like grabs the other one. It's like, "You're my favorite sentient being," or something. Like that was awesome. There's an explosion going off in the background. This is just pure pulp Star Wars, but it's more than that because it actually has feeling to it. And that's the best thing I'll say about it, is the time that he has spent on creating these characters and making them connect with me, connect with the audience, really driving home the message of this isn't all just dumb fun. There's actually like really good storytelling behind these characters.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, that's why I was, is this going to be, what is this? Going to be just dumb fun? Just going to be action, not too much depth. And yeah, like you said, it's the character moments that we continue to get. Yeah, even for LOM and Zuckuss, I calculate there are 30 seconds left of sentimentality. And you're my favorite. We're all destroyed, right? Who gets 0 seconds of I mean, gets 2 minutes of screen time in Empire, 0 seconds of script, right? 0 words. All that. It never lagged. This issue, this whole run never lagged. There's no issue kind of out of place. Like, oh, this could be a few issues later. You know, the Greg Pak Vader, somewhat iffy sometimes.
Yeah.
The Jason Aaron ongoing, somewhat iffy towards the end. You know, again, it's so hard to just keep the pace going, keep the focus on where this is going and how we're getting there.
Not only
how we're building up and what we're paying off. It's so hard to do that, and it's
Yeah.
difficult to. And yeah, it just every issue came out with something rich and something fun and deep at the same time.
And the fact that this whole run was put in a very challenging, I'm sure it's challenging,
Yeah.
point in time. It's my favorite time in Star Wars, really, because it's between the Empire, between Return of the Jedi. Just loved the Outlaws, loved the Underworld at that time. You see Outlaws, you see what I did there? Getting the game this year. But yeah, no, the idea that he had to go and navigate through 4 different crossover series while he's telling his
True.
succinct story, and
Yeah.
it still worked. It didn't feel like, oh, they're just, doing this to fill in where this is going to be going in with the crossover. So he's able to keep these really good character stories alive in the midst of the background of everything else having to connect. So
Yeah.
not an easy task of just saying, hey, you're a solitary writer, just filling this gap here. No, you have to coordinate with like 3 or 4 other writers every single week and still manage to tell your story the way you intended from the beginning.
Yeah, it's an achievement. I don't know if there's anything more we can say. It's Well, we'll look back. We'll look back on this one. Kind of getting Joel's comment here. 42 issues in 4 years. Yeah, and a whole just marking the end of the era, and we'll get to that in a minute. But
Yep.
another Poe was going to be a mini series, and that ended up by
that
Charles
was like
Soule.
30 issues or something.
Yeah, that ended up being an ongoing as well, and so yeah, it's sorry, talking a lot.
Fingers are crossed. Django Fett, please. I don't think they've ever said it's a mini series, but please make it at least 10 issues.
Yeah,
we need that Django Fett content. We need 40 issues of Django Fett. Come on.
And that'll get your Underworld thing, you get my prequels thing. He becomes the clone template, all that nonsense.
Yes, all that pre Attack of the Clones content that's been so vacant over the years. We really need that galaxy expanded at this point.
Yeah. All right, I think that's what we got for. We could keep talking about this run. I think we probably will keep talking about this run. A few things to get to still. Hopefully not going to take too long, but I just want to shout out a Star Wars adjacent comic that came out today as well. Second issue of Charles Soule's Shrouded College Bloody Dozen with Alberto Albuquerque and covered by Will Sliney. That's a really cool interconnected universe from Image Comics. So check that out. And speaking of Charles Soule, Charles Soule,
got a bomb drop today.
Tabana and the Tank. Yes, we got a substantial quote. That's the quote. Tabana and the Tank. We got a substantial update from Charles in his newsletter. If you are not subscribed to his newsletter, subscribe to that email newsletter. Gives you way more. And Kevin Scott does that too. Daniel Jose Older, a lot of them. E.K. Johnson. They give a lot more than they would on social media for sure, and more probably than Marvel solicits or StarWars.com will. Although I gather a lot of this reflects things that are in solicits, but things that I found really new and noteworthy regarding comics. So this is just in his email. Mentioned that the Trial of Lando arc. So he just turned in number 47, Star Wars number 47. The Trial of Lando arc that ends with number 47, and so that means 44 to 47 is the Trial of Lando arc, right? Because
wait, 44, 46, 40...
45.
Wait, it starts with 44.
I gather if 42
because 43 is Luke.
Yeah,
44, 45. It's going to be 4 issues, that whole thing?
Yes.
Wow, I was not expecting it to go that. I thought maybe 2 issues at the most.
No, it's a legal drama. He needs to get into it. There we go. We'll get it. We'll give our thoughts about all this in a minute. But because the Luke duology is 42 and 43, and we just had 42 last week. He mentions a very cool surprise thing, quote unquote, from issue number 50. He says that he'll have much more to say about his time on the main title once we hit number 50. So I think you were saying that might be, I guess, November, whenever that is.
Yeah, something like that.
he did address all of our questioning. This is where the quote comes. He did address all of our questioning about the proximity to Return of the Jedi and squeezing stories in that time frame. He says, "Ye of little faith, we've got some Tabana in the tank yet."
Yeah, you must be watching Attractor every week because we say it almost every week here, everybody. It's like,
Yes.
when are they getting there?
Charles Soule
When?
watching the tractor. If only. No, he's watching the splash page. He's listening to the splash page. We know that. Speaking of which, yeah, he is a lawyer. Yeah. So again, I want him. I'll take an ongoing legal drama. I'll take all that. Give me Regina Saskatchewan Sotana Maslany. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, and so that Tabana in the tank, he said he'll start working on, maybe. I think I asked him on Twitter just before this episode. Is he a start? Does it mean he's going to start working on an all new Star Wars title in April? I think this is the doozy. Something he's wanted to do, and something we've all wanted him to do for a while. And I think I have a good guess as to what that is. I hope. We hope. Speaking of drama. Lastly, go back to High Republic. He mentions a 1 or 2 shot comic in the vein of his shorter High Republic comic runs. This is a little down in the in the notes in his kind of bullet points there. So as part of High Republic, so he says it's beyond Trials of the Jedi. I don't know if that means it's at after or not. It says beyond Trials of the Jedi. Being a lawyer, he plays with words. The writer at the same time says that's an essential piece of the puzzle that wouldn't work as well in another format. So definitely 1 or 2 shot comic book. And again, I'm not sure if he means it's set after. He mentions Eye of the Storm. He mentions Shadows of Starlight. He also mentions the Blade, and the Blade is kind of this, bridge to So that's what I'm wondering. Is it an epilogue?
Maybe it ties into the Acolyte. Maybe it bridges us into the Acolyte.
Dare I say it? Because there's the century, right, between end of phase 1, end of phase 3, end of High Republic, and the Acolyte. And so because his next point after that is to remind us that he's consulting at Lucasfilm. So there's that. And we knew that already. He's been helping on. I think we knew that already.
We did. I just forgot completely. Yeah.
So he reminds us that after telling us about this 1 or 2 shot comic beyond Trials of the Jedi. So he also does mention Trials of the Jedi and some other Kickstarter things and whatnot. So definitely check it out. But this is where the comics news here on the Tractor Beam. I think Monday, Joel and I are going to get into more of everything else because it's Charles Soule. I mean, that's the other thing. It's Charles, right? He's the most important voice in paper canon. I know that's not an exaggeration. He's the most prolific writer in paper canon right now. I mean, Claudia Gray is definitely up there too. But yeah, so of all these things, which stood out to you the most, and what do you make of all these?
The way I read it, the way I digested it at least, is maybe this main comic's going past issue number 50 because he says there's something special he can't say until after 50. Or maybe what happens is they just keep continuing Star Wars to 51, and that's after Return of the Jedi or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm also thinking, well, 2025 would be the 10-year anniversary of Star Wars issue number 1.
True.
So maybe they'll just wait and pull the trigger to Return of the Jedi. Be like, okay, we're going to tie up the original trilogy run of the comics in 10 years and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So that gets me thinking, but I'm just, okay, so after issue number 47 with Lando, we got like several issues. What's that going to be about? Is there going to be a crossover between Darth Vader and Star Wars? Are they going to go that long without having a crossover? Again, there's not 2 less comics that are going to tie in.
Sure.
Or is there going to be another mini series thrown in the mix that's going to like bridge us right into Return of the Jedi? I just thought it would be a lot sooner than it sounds like we could possibly go into 2025. Still not in Return of the Jedi is what I got from this. This is the big thing I got from okay.
I mean, he's even making an Empire Strikes Back reference, right? Tabana and the tank, and Bespin and all that. Yeah, again, I mean, that's the thing. We thought we get there in 2023 because 40 years of Return of the Jedi. Give us. I'm gonna keep saying this. This is gonna be the squeaky wheel, the broken record. Give us interesting stories to dive into. Schism Imperial,
Yeah.
and Greg Pucks are off to a great start. So it was as we looked at, I believe, last week. So give us interesting stories. Again, I'm actually kind of disappointed. This is the funny thing. Disappointed that the Lando thing is only 4 issues. I'll take
I thought
right
it would be
4, 4, 4, 4. Yeah. Or maybe it's 5 issues. I can't do math, but yeah, it's 4. Yeah, so I mean, I'll take more. I'll take back up. Again, the doozy, this all new Star Wars title in April. He's gonna start working on. My heart, my soul tells me it's the Palpatine story. Finally,
Yeah.
he says,
Might not
look,
even
he
happen
says-
though.
well, he says Marvel's in for it. He says Disney's in for it. He says Lucas, they're all in for it. And so, I mean, that's the one thing we've really wanted to do. He's wanted to do for a while. I mean, I think Joel's messaging me suggesting maybe it's a Kira comic or something.
Oh.
We'll talk about that more on Monday. Matt agrees with me there. Matthews think alike. There we go. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it seems to make the most sense that's what he's talking about, given everything. But yeah, I just think they're good.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna play it safe. We're not gonna get a Palpatine origin story in the comic book form, everybody. I think it's gonna be set, in the original trilogy at some point.
Yeah.
Or in the known movies. We're not gonna get him pre-Phantom Menace. We're not gonna get him in Attack of the Clones, right? I can't imagine that. It's gonna be the height of Palpatine during the Galactic Civil War. Just a 5-issue series.
Yeah.
I hope it takes big swings, but I just feel like that character is just so guarded, kind of like Luke Skywalker. They've never given him a miniseries right after all these years. So
yeah,
I feel like with him, it's like more on screen stuff, but I could still see a 1 or 2 tidbits. The Rise of Kylo Ren, that was some cool stuff with Snoke in it and all. So, as much as I want to see it, I just know when it comes out, we're not going to get as much as we would want probably out of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, it's Charles, right? He's, we wonder with Dark Droids where things are headed, but yeah, I mean, he's still, especially in the shorter runs, he's still on point and still very much on point. The trick with Palpatine, the difficulty with Palpatine, is that we have to preserve the mystery of him more than anyone else, more than Vader, right? With Vader, that was the trick originally with Kieran Gillen, was to say, let's not have him talk so much. And then ultimately by the end of 25, by end of that run, we are getting the vision. Well, not by the end. In this issue behind us, we get sorry, I spoke too much. We got the visions. We start to explore the Anakin Vader relationship. But that's not a mystery. That's something that George Lucas has given us since the prequel trilogy, since especially Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones. But with Palpatine, we don't want, kind of like with Yoda, right? It loses the mystique a little bit if we go too much. And so
true.
That's the question. I mean, that's the thing James Luceno navigated so perfectly, right? And that's why we all love that novel, is, kind of with Joel saying it's this adventure with some fun Sith sorcery and the political machinations and that side of things that is his public face already. And so to see him using that, to see him getting that, we've already been primed again by the Luceno novel that came out 12 years ago, 13 years ago, 12 years ago around
or
there. So we'll
see.
So again, we'll see. I trust Charles to know he really has a handle on that whole sense of mystery versus disclosure. And I mean, that's another thing Joel's bringing up, is maybe it's not so much a mystery about Palpatine, but a mystery about something about Palpatine. I mean, Charles thinks a lot about Rise of Skywalker. He does. Trying to make it work, if you will, but not so much make it. You wouldn't put it that way, but try to find corners and angles that are interesting in what we've been given by J.J. Abrams, which there are. And Exegol is definitely one of them, and Greg Pak gave that. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility of something about Palpatine's story that we already know to show that backstory and how much character can be revealed in there, how much character development does Palpatine get? He doesn't. But everyone, I mean, kind of like Thrawn, right? Everyone around him gets those things. So, I mean, that's another another possibility is with what's his name? Like, everything going on in Mexico too. Another possibility. Sorry, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think a cool story approach would be having the duplicity of him as a senator versus him dealing with Tyrannus. Actually, I said maybe not, but I take that back. Have it set between Phantom Menace, Attack of Clones, getting the Clone Wars war machine going up before behind the scenes. I mean, you look at other great comic book stories, age-old Batman, Bruce Wayne, Batman, which is the mask. It's actually Bruce Wayne, right? It's like they could do like really good, great stuff if they would bounce back and forth him in the different arenas, dealing with the Underworld versus dealing with the Republic, Senates, and everything like that could be pretty interesting. I feel like
that would be fantastic. I would love that. Again, I mean, the Lucino channeling Lucino, we can't help but bring that up. Darth Plagueis is what I'm talking about. In case anyone's wondering, even E.K. Johnston in the Padme, one of the Padme novels, which one? She's able to do a little bit of the legislative finagling. That's leading up to the oh my gosh,
Clone Wars.
Leading up to the Clone Wars, but I think also leading up to the blockade on Naboo, right? So in the first
that one. Okay.
So just all those things, I think there's an appetite for it, and especially if it does take in kind of the weird fantasy sci-fi stuff. So I mean that's kind of the question we're wondering is when is this set? I mean Exegol during the prequel trilogy, Exegol before, I don't know. Maybe not. I think if anything, I would really like Chancellor Palpatine, and that seems to be where his gravity is. That seems to be honestly what we keep speculating, like you were saying about with the Jango story. That period between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, that's the great unexplored within the Skywalker saga. That is now the great unexplored time period. That could be it. We're coming up to 15 years of we're at 15 years of Phantom Menace, 25 years of Phantom Menace too, and so that's another milestone year, all that. So that's what my thoughts there. Again, we could be completely wrong. It could be about someone else entirely, but I don't know, Chris, do you have any further thoughts on all that?
No, it's exciting that we're getting answers finally, even if it's not from Lucasfilm itself. It's from the mouth, the words of the writer himself saying, "Hey, you guys chill out. We know you're writing for Return of the Jedi stuff, but it's gonna be probably next year. I would imagine."
I mean, he's saying he's just probably start working on it in April. So who knows? Here's another great suggestion. What happened to the Zilla Beast? And then Lobot. I mean, he's done so much with Lobot over the years. I think I mentioned last week or a few weeks ago. So I mean, he's going to continue. I mean, this whole Trial of Lando is probably going to bring up Lobot as well. So different possibilities. He just a testament to the impact this guy's had on the galaxy far, far away. Last little bit of news. Dr. Aphra, par for the course every year, like you're saying, nominated for GLAAD Award. And just to say, for best comic, I don't know if it's, I think it's won. This is GLAAD. I forget what GLAAD stands for, but just the LGBTQ community and representation. And especially Alyssa being part of the community as well, being able to take this comic to a new height. But again, it's another GLAAD Award nomination for this character, for this comic. So what I mentioned with Ethan Sachs and consistency, we have with Afra, and consistency in story and consistency. I hope a lot of folks find consistency and representation with this character. The folks behind the GLAAD Awards definitely agree. I don't know if you have anything more to add to that.
Yeah, it's great to see Star Wars blazing that course, and doing things bold and things that are being normalized, and that's good to see in this industry. It's good to see that all those people are finding characters that represent themselves. I think that's really important to see. Like, hey, I can relate to this person because they are sort of like me, but they're in space. So I think it's really cool that things are changing for the better. People are feeling like they're being seen. People going out cosplaying, these characters already, getting ideas, and it's just get more fans. We all just want to have more Star Wars fans, and that's one way of doing it. Just inviting more people into this, hopefully mainly positive community.
Yeah. We're still working on it, but yeah, Star Wars is for everyone, and glad to see a story we all love be recognized in that way. So there's that. Before we get to the next week, I think that's all we got. We finally got through it. No,
that's all. You want to go for another hour?
We're going for another hour talking about whatever. There we go. But yeah, but this was a great conversation. Again, we'll have more to say about Charles's news, about other things, on Twitter and in the other places you can watch us talk at the internet. So speaking of which, Chris, where can they find you, your podcasting, your writing, your tweeting, etc.?
Sure. For Twitter, you can find me at my name down below, Star Raptor. I am talking about video games, a lot of Xbox talk. I'm taking a break from skateboarding because it's 21 degrees outside, so you're not going to see me posting many videos these days
21 degrees
until it gets
so
a little warm.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah, you can find me there at YouTube. I have been reviewing upcoming High Republic books. I have my review for Escape from Vala. I have my review for Defy the Storm coming out very soon. So subscribe there. I also have my own podcast over there with Milton and Ben, Outer Rim Transmission, a Star Wars news show and review show and all that good stuff. So go ahead, check that out. We go live Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I also have been experimenting with writing with my new blog, starraptor.substack.com. Just put up my review for Echo. I have a lot of fun stuff, gaming, TV, Star Wars, and more on there. So I'm going to be updating that regularly. So please subscribe to be there. But yeah, it was a good one.
Yes, definitely check it out. Again, you can follow me on Instagram and Threads at MNEUG1138. You can be tweeting about or sharing me photos about Star Wars, Lego, soccer, Taylor Swift. On Twitter at NEUG485 and at Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. This Monday at 8:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We are talking more about character continuity and character continuity across different media and different genres in Star Wars. Again, Joel's going to give his thoughts about all this stuff. Great job. You're up next, Joel. You got your homework cut out for you on all this Charles Soule news. Gonna get into that, but also check us out there right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. Speaking of the network, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, they had their stream just an hour ago, or starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's on their channel, talking again about representation and kind of address the more difficult questions that have come up recently that are definitely worth addressing, worth getting into. I was able to watch for a few minutes and just listen in on their conversation, and they're saying some good stuff. So check that out on their Twitch channel and their YouTube, and of course the flagship Star Wars Underworld podcast coming to you tomorrow night 9 p.m. right here on this channel. So give it a like and a subscribe, like and a share as well, or subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff. So you can check us out everywhere you get your podcasts. Of course, you can get the Iron Cannon podcast on Spotify. We're still definitely behind. We're going to sort out getting Tractor Beam on audio. I promise that is coming down the pipe. We'll get that. But yeah, releasing next week. You rid of that. Releasing next week is High Republic Adventures #2. Daniel Jose Older and Thrawn Alliance is #1. Definitely going to get into that. Go to your local comic book shop to check those out. Chris, it's been a good pod, good episode. Enjoy your shorter recap reviews because you got a lot to do. Good luck keeping this bounty hunters thing to about 5-10 minutes, however long you do it. There we go.
Yeah, that is going to be a challenge. I am looking forward to.
Yes, there we go.
Oh man, do I throw poor people under the bus for saying this? I'm looking forward to an adaptation I actually care about. Yay!
Yeah. That's
no,
the thing.
no. You know, nothing bad being said to the creative teams on Mandalorian and Obi-Wan, but these poor guys don't get a chance to iterate on anything new. But I'm looking forward to Thrawn Alliance's more people that have not actually read these novels to actually see what's going on in a much abbreviated way. I'm still bent out of shape how it's only 4 issues, but you can't possibly. And those are big meaty books too that Zahn writes. So I'm very curious if they pull this off. But also the main thing is we're going to see our first appearance of a Grisk alien. Everybody, a Grisk species from the unknown regions. I have been thinking about what the heck these guys have looked like since 2017, everybody. So I am ready for this big reveal. There was kind of a false alarm that went out because there were aliens that were fighting Thrawn and Vader in the Batu in Oka's Cantina there.
Right.
And everybody was like, that's a Grisk, that's a Grisk. And even I was like, wait, is that them? And that's debunked. That's the Shani. No, not the Shani or Diva Lompops people. Some other alien types. Yeah. But nonetheless, everybody wants the Grisk. At least I'm one of the people that wants the Grisk because it'd be the main threat of Star Wars going forward. Joel Davis might agree with me on that. So I'm just looking forward to this one. I want to see what these things look like already.
Yeah, there we go. Again, Kenobi, Mandalorian, some great covers. First appearance of Apatrono Carson Teva, this guy here. But yeah, definitely looking forward to in Tim Zahn we trust, and Jodie Hauser we trust. I think she's gonna do a stellar job with this as well. So yeah, check out your local comic book shop. Check it out on digital, but yeah, support local. Check out your local comic book shop. Until then, happy reading.